Okay, today I'm going to address the difference between weight and pressure, and this is all in my own opinion, so these are just kind of my own ideas. And if you are currently taking private lessons and your teacher disagrees with something that I'm teaching, please feel free to listen to your teacher, because your teacher is the one that actually knows you and knows what you need specifically. But I'll do my best to explain how I approach weight versus pressure. Weight being the better one and pressure being not the desirable one. So, and let me explain why that is. Okay, so let's first talk about the bow arm, and then we'll talk about the left hand. So actually what it really comes down to is the right hand and the left hand. So let's talk about this bow weight. Okay, the way that I'm approaching this and the way that I'm getting my sound is through this arm. Now when I'm talking about weight, what I'm really talking about is gravity. Okay? So keep that in mind as we go through this lesson. Gravity. So when you let your arm go from, let's say, this position, it falls, right? And everything falls. It's gravity. So now when you contact the string with your bow, there are a few things that happen. One is your bow is adding weight to the string. Your hand is adding weight to the bow, which is adding weight to the string. Now your arm is where all of this weight is originating. So the arm adds weight to your hand, adds weight to your bow, adds weight to your string. So when you pull your bow by leading with your elbow, I'm not really doing anything with this hand. All I'm doing is keeping a good relaxed grip on the bow, something that teachers teach is the bow grip. And so this is my bow grip right here, very relaxed. So I just land here, and then my arm, as it's falling, that natural gravitational pull is adding the sound. Okay, so if I want a heavy, full sound, all I'm doing is I'm allowing that gravity to take more effect on my arm. So I'm not pushing at all. I'm not adding any extra tensing in my muscles. I'm just allowing my arm to sink more into the bow. So arm through the hand, through the bow, into the string. Okay, so that's a little bit about arm weight. Arm pressure is when you tense your muscles and try to push your bow into the string to create the sound. Okay, you're almost instantly and almost every time you're going to get a pitched nasal sound, kind of like when you do this. Not very effective or efficient or desirable. Okay. So now one of the symptoms, something that you can tell that you're doing this by, is when your wrist collapses this way. So your wrist ends up below your hand, a lot below your hand. Now obviously it depends on how you're built. So some people may actually have, I don't know, something physically that makes it so that it looks like this. But typically, at least for me, when my hand is completely relaxed, my wrist ends up being pretty much straight on with my hand like that. So, and when I'm playing, it's about that. It's about straight on with my hand. Okay. So as soon as you start adding that extra pressure that you don't need because your arm could take care of it by gravity, this pressure manifests itself through this symptom, which is that your wrist collapses, we'll call it. So it falls down. Okay, so that's enough about the right hand. Left hand. When you're putting your fingers down on your fingerboard, there are two ways you can do it. One is with weight, which means, again, this arm also falls to gravity. And so when you have your violin up and you let your arm kind of fall, your finger will then fall into the string. So, okay. So you see this little action here that I'm doing with my third finger. I'm dropping it into the string with just my arm weight coming through. A little bit tricky because you do need to control it a little bit with your hand, but most of that is originating from this drop. So the difference being with, or at least the way that you can tell that you're doing this correctly, is if you don't feel too much stress in your fingers, particularly in the first and the second knuckles, right around here. Okay, and let me show you how not to do this with pressure. Okay, let's say that I'm holding the violin up, I'm just pressing my finger down. Okay, you can already tell right around here in your hand that you're tensing, and as soon as you tense, because your hand has smaller muscles than your arm, your hand will wear out a lot faster by doing this. So I would recommend never pressing down with your finger like this, because it just will wear out your muscles. I would instead recommend that you let your arm, the natural weight, pull your finger down. Okay, very abstract concept as far as how it feels, because I can't tell you how it feels, or I can't make you feel the same thing that I'm feeling. So you'll have to experiment with that, but if you do it correctly, one exercise that may help, and this is something that I've tried, is letting your finger go all the way down to the fingerboard, and then just barely relaxing it, just barely. So you're putting it all the way down and then just bringing it up a tiny bit. If you bring it up too much, then you lose the note. But if you bring it up just a hair, then you preserve the sound, and then you can also see my hand from this position to relaxing a little bit. You can tell it's relaxing just a little bit, and that tiny margin of relaxation will help keep your hand fresh while you're playing, and so you won't tire out as easily. I did do a video on lifting your violin, so there is a certain balance between lifting it and relying on gravity that you'll have to experiment with. But here are a couple of ideas then, with your bow weight versus bow pressure, and your finger weight versus finger pressure that you can experiment with. So good luck.